Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful sunny Tuesday, April 13th. Coming up, the Crusty Canuck podcast, episode 116. Nothing to see here, folks, but plenty of fear. More government debacles, vaccine BS, and other economical hardships. All that and more coming up the show. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 116 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty. Listener discretion is advised. I tend to swear and use big, nasty, bad words, so don't say I didn't warn you. And if you like and hear what you see, please click like, subscribe, share this all around on all social media platforms. Help us independent folk get the word out there, and please consider donating today at crustycanuck.ca/donations. So as the title said, yes, nothing to see here, but plenty to fear. Yes, of course, some political farble garb, as always, in this week of Canadian politics. Come across a story there from the 12th, yesterday, from the Post-Millennial, and the Ontario Premier and all of his infinite cheesecake wisdom. Basically, the story says, Doug Ford warns leakers to stop leaking to journalists, according to Leaker. Interesting. So this is written by the Post-Millennial. The Ontario PC Party caucus was given a stern warning by Premier Doug Ford and Conservative strategist Corey Tenachek to stop leaking news tips to reporters, according to a news tip leaked to the Toronto Toronto Sun's Brian Lilley. The source said that Brian Lilley and CTV's Colin DeMello were both specifically named as journalists of concern. Now, even that term seems a little weird. Journalist of concern. In a tweet, DeMello raised concerns over why Canuck, whose lobbying firm Rubicon Strategy has lobbied the Ford government on behalf of Amazon recently, was addressing caucus. Canuck served as former vice president of Sun News Network before its demise in 2015. He was also Prime Minister Stephen Harper's director of communications and was the campaign manager for Progressive Conservatives during the 2018 Ontario election. More importantly, why is Corey Canuck, whose lobbying firm Rubicon Strategy has lobbied the Ford government on behalf of the Amazon recently, addressing caucus? There's a link there in the article, which I'll leave at the description on the page here. So DeMello and Lilley are among the list of journalists who have reportedly received leak information from the Ford caucus, often giving Ontarians a head up on the big COVID-related updates before the Ford government is able to announce them. This includes Ford's most recent stay-at-home order, rumored travel restrictions within the province, and the pulling of the emergency brake measures. So, it doesn't matter what party these individuals represent or not. It doesn't matter what leadership role they have. There's a lot of quinky-dink bullshit going on in the woodwork behind closed doors, as we see, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of this pandemic and the name of public safety. All that and more, right? So now, when I saw Doug Ford get elected, I thought, great. Get rid of the whole conspiracy wind model, the whole double or triple hydro rates, the whole biomass debacle, the whole green technology debacle. And yet, I'm not seeing any difference. I'm not seeing any difference from the Ford government. I'm not seeing much difference from the Kenney government here in Alberta. Now, what annoys me the most is I have some conservative values. I have liberal values. I do believe that our socialized medicine is okay. It needs work for sure. But to my first-time listeners out there, I like to remind, especially my American listeners and my British listeners too, and some of my Eastern European listeners, we do have a decent medical system. But I'd like to tell you all, it's not free. Okay? It's not universal. It's a national thing. It's not universal health care. It's a national health care service, similar to what the British is. But there's a little more red tape to ours here too. And now because of these pandemics, there's a lot of major hospitals in major cities that are stalling unnecessary surgeries in the name of this pandemic, in the name of the panic itself. Okay? So when I look at leaders like Doug Ford and Jason Kenney, who are constantly throwing the narrative out the window. More narratives, more narratives, more narratives, more narratives. In the name of fear. They're not doing their fucking job. Okay? Now, in the last provincial election, I did vote for Kenny. I wanted somebody different than frickin' Motley Notley and her frickin' communist wisdom. I wanted somebody who was going to stand up for Alberta, stand up for this province, get the resources to market as they should. But the more and more I look, the more and more I see, I'm not seeing any action. I'm seeing all talk, right? And what's igniting this the most is that we've got churches in this province who are being closed as we speak, okay? Now, I'm not hearing too much about the synagogues or too much about the mosques, okay? Now, I'm not trying to condemn anybody of any faith from going to the place of worship and doing what they think is right. Not at all. I want all Canadians of all faiths, all colors and creeds to worship any way they feel right? Any way possible. And I'm not going to buy this whole narrative where we just stay at home, keep safe lives and everything, yes. Oh, you can pray in your basement, or you can pray in your garage, or pray in your front yard. You don't need to go to church. That's the point. People do need to go to church. People need to go to their mosques. People need to go to their synagogues, right? To converse, to socialize, because it is a health issue too. If you're not conversing with a lot of people and socializing with people, then you're conditioning us all to be fucking hermits. Sit around our hands and count our blessings and be thankful and be grateful and to live in more fear. Okay? Now when I see Mr. Ford and Mr. Kenny promoting the same old thing, let's create more fear. Enough is enough. We got to lock this down. And we'll take Doug Ford's example and eat some more fucking cheesecake. Yeah, we'll just sit in our hands and wait for fucking more cheesecake to come. Then we get all fat and obese, and we'll have no motivation to get up and actually fight the good fight, because freedom of assembly is a crime in this country, right? Yeah, go figure. Oh, fuck.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Another story I came across in the Post-Millennial 2. This is dated back to 9th of April. You see it on my Facebook page as well. I put little tidbits and stuff on the Facebook page and my community page when I can. And to you, my listeners and viewers out there, please, if you want to keep updated on information on the Crusty Canuck podcast, please just check my community page on YouTube and Facebook, respectively. I'm also branching out to other social media platforms, but right now this is what I got working for me, and it really helps my listeners and viewers alike to keep in touch. So this is an article that came from Post-Millennial. Trudeau Liberals keep pushing for internet law that targets hurtful words against politicians. Yeah, I dwelled in an episode of this before, Mr. Stephen Gilbert, but article states, Justin Trudeau's Heritage Minister has suggested that internet censors should attempt to ban mean words against politicians. Stephen Gilbert often gets into trouble for speaking his mind about internet censorship. Of course, he's in favor of it. And this time, however, he has vehemently argued for a kill switch for when websites are saying hurtful words, according to a Blacklocks reporter. Now, Blacklocks is a very, very legitimate news source. It costs you a few bucks to join their program, but I've actually had some conversations with some Blacklock reporters, and they're really down-to-earth people. So carrying on. Speaking about the matter on a podcast, Gilbert said that we have seen too many examples of public officials retreating from public service due to the hateful online content targeted towards themselves. Oh, my God. Well, welcome to public office there, fucky. What do you expect to happen? Puppy dogs, fairy tales. Oh, here's a pat in the back. Here's a pat behind. And before you know it, here's a little slap and tickle and a couple of $1,000 in your pocket. Holy fuck, Stephen. Are you really on that fucking, that pathway of glue sniffing? Holy shit. He carries on saying, as a dad and a stepdad to 6 kids, continued Gilbert, I know more can be done and should be done to create a safer online environment. Despite the seeming vast disapproval that Canadians have for internet censorship, the Trudeau Liberals are set to plow ahead with the legislation. He quotes, I am confident we can get this adopted. Yeah, I bet you can, you fucking commie. The Liberals will discuss the bill further during their convention, which costs a desk-thumping $499 to attend as an observer. So if you go there as a reporter and observe the convention, you're going to better pay the better part of $500 just to go in and to observe, because that $500 goes right to the party and, of course, their campaign. Hence, all these conventions now, they're going to start working on policies, yada, yada, yada. The NDP with their anti-NATO and anti-military crap, Conservatives with their light approaches, and, of course, the Liberal with their basically Canadian commie red mandates. So, on top of this, the Liberal government is set to table this legislation within the next couple of weeks. This is in spite of a stunning lack of public consultations. Of course, they don't really care because safety is paramount to them, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Please don't call us bad things. We're trying really, really hard. We are really trying to make things work, and don't give us a hard time. Oh, my goodness. Oh, please, don't say bad words to me.
For fuck's sakes, people. I'll say again, anyone who aspires to get in the public eye, doesn't matter if you're an influencer, doesn't matter if you do OnlyFans, doesn't matter if you sell half-assed porn on whatever channel, whatever private medium you have, okay? You're going to go in the public eye. Therefore, you're open to either praise or scrutiny. That's not a new dynamic, ladies and gentlemen. And to my first-time listeners out there who happen to be in the Generation Z or Z or the millennial infrastructure or spectrum, you're going to have to start growing up, folks. Going to have to start taking things for what they are, not what you want them to be. Anyway, carrying on. What we're seeing in this is this dream of this free platform where we could have those open discussions. Well, that dream for many is turning into a nightmare, and people are just simply deciding to take themselves out of the public debate because the conditions under which we are asking to participate simply aren't sustainable, added Gibault. We know it's a minority of actors, but a very organized, very loud minority, and something must be done. Ooh, like Antifa? All your professional victims rallying about special rights and privileges because they don't want to hear bad words and see bad things? Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Gibault has been curiously laconic when it comes to defining what will actually be banned or what constitutes legitimate speech. It is worth noting, for instance, that Canada we've had hate speech laws in this country since the 1970s. Perhaps a good question to ask then, why is this necessary? Another point of curiosity is why Gibault's internet censorship has been so cloak and dagger, denying multiple times they weren't even considering it. So, Gibault was elected in 2019 as a Liberal MP for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Before he was elected, of course, he climbed the CN Tower back in 2001, to harp about the death of geese, what have you. So basically, these are the clowns that we have in charge, ladies and gentlemen. Any politician that takes it upon him or herself that wants to censor something in the name of protecting themselves, okay, to me is not a leader. It has nothing to do with leadership. It has nothing to do with looking after the greater good or looking after your constituents. It's about being fucking selfish. It's about lining your fucking pockets. Really, it's about being a fucking douchebag. Well, really, here's a word from my sponsors.
In October of 2015, Lindsay Robbins, like many of her fellow Canadians, was struggling with the turmoil of mental illness. The ups and downs of what she was going through was shaping her realities, and she longed for structure. As luck would have it, that structure presented itself to her in the form of gardening. And through gardening, Lindsay had an awakening that led her to create Produce for Heroes. Lindsay realized that our veterans were going through their own mental struggles, and through her own experience, she realized the power of community. By desiring to help the way that she had been helped, she has created a program that provides relief to veterans. Her food program, which aims to provide veterans and their families relief from the stresses of food insecurity and help alleviate the cost of living for those that have sacrificed so much for their country. Whether it's through directly contacting Produce for Heroes or through a friend's referral, all veterans and their families living in Canada are welcome. By shining a light on the struggle of veterans and their families, Lindsay is hoping to get her fellow Canadians to hop on board and support Produce for Heroes and our great veterans. If you or a veteran you know needs help, ProduceForHeroes.com is a great place to start.
This is Brian Boucher, the new CEO of Canuck Gold Corp. We have gold at 99% purity with discounts ranging from $100 up to $200 off the ounce. This is the right place to buy, from 2-gram cards to 400-ounce bricks. We have any quantity of gold you are looking for. We also sell by the ton, not like your ex-wife. Visit us today at canudgold.com, C-A-N-U-N-D gold.com.
Mama always said I had a face for radio.
Join the Liberal Party of Canada. We'll tell you what to think, what to do, how to wipe, how to pick your nose, all in the name of safety.
Yes, and that's a concern that Mr. Gobert, Trudeau, McKenna, Christopher Freeland, and every other so-called qualified or unqualified official that wants to do with our platforms here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Any politician in his or her right mind who wants to censor something because they want to look after the feelings and welfare of their fellow politicians, to me, is not leadership. It's nothing but a glorified high school clique, worrying about the image of a few groups or a few people that are wearing the newest fashion trends. You know, I remember back in the 80s and 90s, the polo shirts. Remember those fucking things? People who had to have a polo shirt and a pair of loafers. Oh, yes. To look so important, it's so chic and classic. Oh, yes, of course. And then when grunge rock became a thing after Nirvana made it big, you know, everyone wore plaid shirts or the toques, let their hair fucking get all messy and dirty, right? Nothing really new there. But it's like the tribe mentality. Follow the group or else, right? Yeah, okay. Well, my listeners out there, don't follow the group. Think for yourself. You know, stand by the certain principles of peace, liberty, security, and freedom. Freedom to be, to express yourself, to say what the hell you want, to assemble where you want. You know, just don't hit people and take their stuff. Anyway, more of this monstrosity. True North did a story there yesterday too. Cosmin de Souza wrote, MPs refused to show support for politician salary reduction during the COVID-19 issue. So you can find all these links in my description and all that too, ladies and gentlemen. If you do like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe and share this all over the place. Help the algorithm going. Let us independent folk get something out there so we can change the format and people can start thinking and expressing themselves freely yet again. So, as the story goes, the vast majority of members of Parliament were unresponsive when asked whether or not they would support a salary reduction for politicians until the economy is fully reopened. At the height of the pandemic, True North Initiative put out a petition calling for MPs to take a salary reduction while many Canadians are forced to adhere to government-imposed lockdowns. The petition has since been signed by well over 20,000 Canadians. Quote unquote, shutting down restaurants, gyms, and other businesses takes aim at working age Canadians and ignores everything we have learned about COVID-19 in the last few months, reads the petition. If politicians continue to insist on more lockdown measures, they should also feel the economic impact of their decisions. We're calling on all Canadian politicians to take a pay cut until they fully reopen the economy. It's only fair, and I agree. True North reached out to all 338 members of Parliament. Now, I say again, ladies and gentlemen, especially my first-time listeners here in Canada, okay, 338 seats are occupied by elected officials who get a nice paycheck, but I'll carry on. Okay, 338 members of Parliament to ask whether they would individually support a cut to their pay in support of the many Canadians who continue to struggle to make ends meet. Only two out of 338, ladies and gentlemen, only 2 elected officials responded to our request for a comment. This question really needs to be answered by the Trudeau Liberals. Canada's Conservatives are, and will remain, focused on ensuring Canada's recovery and securing a future, said Conservative MP and Chief Opposition Whip Blake Richards. Several requests for comment from the NDP MP, Peter Julian, went unanswered despite attempts to arrange a phone interview through his office. Meanwhile, Liberal MP Wayne Easter responded by saying that he would not at all support a pay reduction for politicians. In fact, my experience, most politicians and their staffs have worked even longer and tougher hours during the pandemic to put together new programs in record time and support constituents with their issues and questions. I have been averaging about 11 to 12 hours a day for a full year now, and often am in the office or on Zooms till near midnight, Easter told the True North. Okay, well, Mr. Easter, I got news for you. You haven't experienced 11, 12-hour workday like I have, okay? Until you wear 80 pounds in your fucking back, carrying frontline ammo and a radio, and ready to fight the good fight in the name of Canada, you haven't done shit, Buckeye, okay? So don't give me this crap that you work long fucking days on Zoom meetings. Don't you dare. Okay? It takes me a couple hours to put an episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast together, formatting, editing, making sure that some hisses are off. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can fucking do with what I got. And that's something you guys don't fucking understand. We have to do the best we do with what we have, and yet you demand better, you fucking hypocrite. Holy fuck. I also believe in life, you get what you pay for.
we're going to cheap with our politicians and government. We're going to get a crappy politicians and government. Something as important as our democracy shouldn't be shortchanged.
Really? You stand by a politician that has put this country into debt, and yet you don't want to shortchange your constituents. Wow, contradiction on one over. Hello, crack don't smoke itself.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Mr. Easter also pointed out, too, that if all MPs took a $20,000 pay cut, the nearly $7 million saved would be nothing other than a virtue signaling. Kind of like what your boss does, fucky? Yeah, okay. Since it would only total 87 cents per Canadians if individually broken up among the population. Well, you don't have to individually break that $7 million up in the population. You could put that $7 million bucks into clean water. There's an idea. Or that $7 million bucks into the national debt. Oh, man. Now see what happens, kids, when you fucking make out with your cousin? You get politicians like that. Earlier this month, all MPs received an annual pay bump to their salaries, totaling 1.8% increase. In 2021, MPs received a salary of $182,000, while cabinet ministers got $269,800. As for the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, his pay increased around $6,400 a year. So basically, they all got a good chunk of change, about $500 a month, and the Prime Minister, I think, got $625 extra a month for doing absolutely what? Okay?
We work really hard. We're trying really hard. Don't say bad words to us. Don't hurt our feelings. And don't criticize our pay, because we're in Zoom meetings all day, making sure you're safe by locking everything down.
Oh, my God. Anyway, carrying on with more of the whole. Nothing to see here, but lots to fear. This just came yesterday, too, from the Post-Millennial in regards to the military misconducts that have been going on with our senior leaders. It's a short story, but bear with me. Like I say, all these links will be in my description. You can read for yourselves. And also coming up, too, a great speech from Pierre Poilievre in regards to the administrative and the red tape bullshit that goes on with building things. But I'll get to that shortly. Anyway, bear with me. From the Post-Millennial, Canadian News. Breaking, Trudeau Liberals vote to shut down probe into sexual assault in the military. So this is from yesterday. The Trudeau Liberals have decided to discontinue a probe into the sexual misconduct allegations in the military. This came despite opposition from the Conservative Party and the NDP. Wow, the NDP is actually standing up for something other than their own paychecks. Wow, go figure. Liberals, alongside with Les Blocs Québécois, voted down the probe into these allegations according to Global News. The NDP and the Conservatives, on the other hand, voted to pursue these allegations as no one has yet taken responsibility.
It's not my fault. It's not your fault. Whose fault is it? Oh, I don't like it. Maybe Mikey likes it. Fucking.
The probe has offered evidence alongside witness testimony that is reportedly damning. Well, duh. It is unclear why the Bloc and the Liberals chose to vote down the continuation of this probe. The government is yet to provide a statement on the matter. In the past, international media has often been quick to label Trudeau's administration
as a feminist government because, yes, he's a new feminist. He believes in people kind and being fair to everybody except people that question his authority. Oh, my goodness.
The Prime Minister has happily given statements like, I'll keep being a feminist until, it is met with a shrug. Well, there's more of this story coming later on. I'll leave links in the description, but here's my hypothesis, my best guess, okay? Liberals and the Bloc have never been friends to the military. I remember rumblings of the Bloc when the Red River floods were going on, and then when the ice storm was going on back in 1998. They used to complain about military presence, used to complain about the troops not doing this, troops not doing that, yet they're the first ones to respond when the ice storm happened. And I know a lot of Quebecers that I've met personally that were very, very grateful for the military assistance. So the Bloc has never liked the military until the enemy's at the gates. Same as the Liberals, right? You're not going to find the same liberal brand as you did in the 1940s, ladies and gentlemen, during World War II, right? Liberals believe in peace and harmony and look after security by someone else's means. So all the NDPers and Liberals and Bloc out there constantly want to rely on our allies to look after our sorry asses, which I think is terribly wrong. But then, I digress too. I'm not impressed with the Liberal model when it comes to our troops based on my experience and based on the experience I've witnessed from others and what I've seen from others and when I've actually talked to other individuals in regards to the military spending, the big pay freeze they had in the 90s, the decade of darkness, and all other garbage that has usually been pointed fingers at the Liberal Party the past few years when it comes to military spending, which is going to bring me to one of my final points of the show here. Mr. Harjit Sajjan, Defense Minister, and this came from the Western Standard too, ladies and gentlemen. You can check them out. I'll leave links in the description. This was fresh off their press today. Sajjan says he personally stopped Chinese troops from training in Canada. Now, if you don't remember or not, there was a big stink there a few months ago where there were Chinese troops actually training in Petawawa, Ontario, my home base, prior to the so-called abduction of the two Michaels. But I'll read this story here. Canada's defense minister claims he had no idea soldiers from China's People Liberation Army were at winter training in Ontario in 2018, said Blacklock's reporter. And Harjit Sajjan said he personally put a stop to the practice following the detention of two Canadian businessmen in Beijing. He quotes, "I wasn't aware it was actually taking place," Sajjan testified at the Common Special Committee on Canada-China Relations this past Monday. 5 PLA soldiers from Communist China, including a major general, were hosted as observers at Petawawa in Ontario in 2018. Canadian diplomats arranged to host a second visit by the Chinese military in 2019, even after the arrest of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavior, according to the access to information records disclosed last December by Rebel News. Very clear direction was given that we were not to continue with any type of military involvement, said Sajjan. Were you prepared to go ahead with this exercise? Asked Conservative MP James Bezin. Right. After the two Michaels were arrested, I gave direction that we were not to have any further involvement when it comes to the training, and that's exactly what we have done, replied Sajjan. Well, sure you did, Buckeye. What were the reasons the Minister of Foreign Affairs wanted to keep the exercise going? Asked Bloc Québécois Stéphane Bergeron. I wasn't the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We never actually had any discussion about this, said Sajjan. When we know you're not the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we're asking you what association you have with it. Putz. Schmucky. But records show Canadian military commanders canceled the PLA visit at a winter survival training at the request of the United States. From what I can tell, said the Department of National Defense, is also lukewarm, said one Internal Defense Department email. The military then canceled the invitation, citing security concerns. The winter survivor training will not take place, said one internal email. Future options have not been considered. We are happy to work with the Department of Foreign Affairs to tailor the appropriate messaging. The security concerns originated primarily from the United States. Ian Shugart, then Deputy Foreign Minister, in a draft letter complained the cancellation would upset China. Any decision by Canada to reduce or cut ties should be carefully considered to avoid sending any unhelpful or unintended messages, wrote Shugart. I think I mentioned something like this before. Interesting. Canada does not want to be a partner that is reducing normal bilateral relations. There is still a desire to maintain an ongoing relationship with China while recognizing and managing the risks. Sajjan said last night he was unaware of whatever internal discussions that might have happened at the lower levels over permitting the PLA to attend military exercises here. Okay, Fucky, let me tell you, you are the Minister of National Defense. You are privy to the information. You are privy to the ongoings and offgoings that happen within Canada and outside of Canada in regards to national defense. Don't hand us that shit. Okay? I remember when you first got appointed, you talk about diversity and inclusion and transparency. How fucking transparent were you there, just there? Okay? It doesn't matter what news format has reported this. How transparent were you there? Bullshit. You knew what the fuck was going on. And you did fuck all about it.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the point of the show I love to do every time I do an episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. The recipient of the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit. Yes, it's a nice little award like they give to an individual or a group or a tribe or any kind of conglomerate that does something really, really effing stupid. All right? You know, if I actually had a trophy I could mail to these people, I would in a heartbeat. But, you know, I don't have it in my budget at the moment. So maybe later on when this podcast gets bigger and I can do some live videos, maybe I'll put together some kind of trophy or some kind of horse's ass monument to award the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit to said recipient. Anyhow, without further ado, after thinking about it and formulating a proper political decision in regards to the Polar Vortex of Bullshit, I have just recently decided I was actually going to give it to Doug Ford, but I don't really care. So, this episode's Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit goes to none other than Mr. Harjit Sajjan for your incompetent bullshit in regards to being transparent, being diverse, being realistic, and, well, being unprofessional.
The Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit
goes to Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan. Lack of incompetence, lack of transparency, and basically just following orders from Justin Trudeau and his vast amounts of arrogance.
The Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit.
Well done, Mr. Sajjan. Well done, you putz. Anyway, carrying on again with more of the nothing to see here, but lots to fear. So, with everything I just read to you, my audience, and my listeners and fans alike, it doesn't look too promising, does it? It doesn't look too optimist and all this, and we can sit around and feel sorry for ourselves and play finger puppets with our oatmeal. But still, let's be realistic. Excuse me. Oh, too many cigarettes. Let's be realistic here. Okay? It's more obvious every day. Every day we turn on the tube. Every day we open up the papers. Every day I open up my computer and I look at these different articles from different news sources. And I'm not seeing any real good optimism. And yet the speculation in Ontario and Quebec is, too, if they call an election for June, that the Trudeau party is going to get in again. And now, when I say the Trudeau party, not the Liberals, the Trudeau party. Trudeaus have taken the Liberal brand and turned to a real shit show. And all the Doug Fords and Jason Kennys, and sometimes Mr. Arnold O'Toole, has taken the Conservative brand and turned it into a shit show. Note that I don't mention the NDP because they just sit on the fence and try to be virtue, and try to con more money out of people, telling people how to live their lives again. And yet, the more and more this pandemic rears its ugly head, the more lockdowns and restrictions they are promoting. Now, I'll list a video there in my description, too, about two professional Alberta doctors. It come from the Angry Albertan from his page there, too. Two professional, well-disciplined, well-trained, knowledgeable medical doctors who have assessed the whole pandemic situation. And I highly suggest you watch the video in its entirety, ladies and gentlemen. It's about 30 minutes long, but they make a lot of sense. And they promote common sense, and they promote decency, and they more or less say end the lockdowns because of this garbage, because you're not going to contain this issue by locking people down, telling them where to go, where to sit, what to do. Okay? And a big shame call out there to the Montreal police for harassing as many people that they did. Right? And a big shame out there to the RCMP that it responded to the Grace Life Church incident, blocking people from going into a place of worship all in the name of safety. And yet the majority of you guys were conglomerating together. Doesn't matter if you have face masks on or not. You weren't following the rules yourselves with your social distancing mandate BS. Right? So that's a scar, and that's a tarnish on all your fucking halos as far as I'm concerned. Like I say, I'm not a Christian, ladies and gentlemen. I was baptized as a child for the sake of family tradition, but I don't practice the faith. I'm not a believer. I'm not. And I might say that for another episode sometime in the future. But in the meantime, I believe that every Canadian in this country, and everybody in any working democracy for that matter, has the right to practice and preach what they desire. To eat, drink, dance, pray, breathe, to whatever your heart's desire. I don't care if it's a small little synagogue. I don't care if it's a tiny little mosque. I don't care if it's a huge church. I don't care if it's a huge mosque or a huge synagogue or a sports stadium, what have you. We've seen the example in Texas and Florida. So it's obviously not working. More of this fear and these lockdowns. Like I just said about the MP's pay, there's so much arrogance sitting in Parliament. Doesn't matter which party, they won't discuss it. Well, why not? What are you afraid of?
Oh, that's right. You're scared of big, bad words. Oh, my goodness. Don't you dare hurt my feelings. Don't you question my pay. Don't you question my ability. How dare you? How dare you? All my years of college and university. And you dare question my integrity? Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm going to question everyone's integrity that think their shit don't stink. Because there's myself and a few other people that I know personally that are more than willing to fucking rub your face in it. Right? And I'm not talking just two or three. I'm talking about a few hundred. There's a few people I've reached out to, and a few people have sent me some wonderful emails and comments and points of encouragement, and I've encouraged them. They've encouraged me. And they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on and so on. So more or less what I'm getting at there, politicians, is that there's a lot of Canadians out there that are getting tired of your shit. Getting fed up with it. And you're going to see a big turnout come next election when they call one. No, I'm not going to buy this whole let's mail in ballot bullshit. How well that worked for Newfoundland? Not too well, because there's still a lot of people upset with that election. So we're going to demand paper ballots. Going to demand voting stations, put people to work, get people out there going again. Stop worrying about your paychecks. Start worrying about the sovereignty and the longevity of this nation. It's that simple. But no, we can't do that because you want to promote the guise of living people in fear and, controlling the masses, right? So whatever plan you have, whether it's a big reset or not, it's not going to work because a lot of us aren't going to fucking allow it, right? Put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And please, too, ladies and gentlemen, check out my customizedgirl.com/Crusty Canuck. I got t-shirts, I got mugs, I got buttons. I've actually got some pretty cool tops now, too. I went design a couple of athletic tops for you athletes out there. And I got swimsuits for the ladies and patriotic gitch for the dudes, too. So please check out the Crusty Canuck shop. I'll leave a link in the description. Get yourself some good Crusty Canuck swagger. Support the podcast. Help a Canadian out trying to make this podcast a full-time commitment. And I especially want to thank everyone who came out to the Sunday Fastball with myself and Adam Daniel Mizet, a new format that we're working on there, too. So not only will you get the Crusty Canuck podcast, you'll also get the Thursday Fastball every Thursday where I try to have an interesting guest on. And then we'll have the Sunday Fastball with myself, Adam Daniel, and other guests. We'll have a panel. We'll talk about politics, shop, all that good stuff, political spectrums, social spectrums, and just what really fucking burns us during the week in Canadian news and social spectrum. So tune into that every Sunday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The Sunday Fastball with myself, Crusty Canuck, and Adam Daniel Mizet. And then tune in to Thursdays for the Thursday Fastball with myself, Crusty Canuck, and an interesting guest. We'll sit and talk about their work, their background, what they do, what they believe in, and keep the floor open to questions and points of criticism and points of interest. Just keep the comments non-belligerent and non-racial, ladies and gentlemen. I don't tolerate the bigotry. I don't tell racial crap or whatever. So the moment you say something bigoted or racist, I just delete you and I report you. Jawohl. Not like a Nazi, but I'm getting sick and tired of this projected bigotry that keeps miring us every goddamn day. Every time we turn on the television, we hear about this marginalized. Oh my God, racism. And you actually see and hear racism. The best thing to do is to do something about it. Call it out for what it is. Okay? But I don't believe that the system's racist. I don't believe the system is too rigged. Yeah, there are favors and there's, slaps and tickles going around. But when I look at Parliament and I look at our government structure, there's quite the diversity of human beings there. So let's look at the narrative for what it is and do the right thing and stand up for what's right, ladies and gentlemen. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, on this beautiful 13th of April, 2021, it's sunny out. Go do some yard work, rake up some dead grass from the winter, get my stuff ready for gardening this year. End of the month, I'll start looking at my seeds. And hopefully in the next month, I'll start planting, weather permits. But start looking after the things that are important. Still, regardless of the trying times we're in, let's do our best. Help each other out the best of our abilities. Look after your neighbors. Do the extra chore, run the few errands. Do what we can for our family and friends to the best of our abilities. Like my grandmother used to say, keep your chin up. And yeah, we shall. Keep our chins up, folks. Do what we can. I'm not saying suck it up, because when you suck it up too much, you got to vent. And venting can be very, very lethal. But if we're going to vent, let's vent through dialogue, conversation, emphasis on the positivity, but standing up against the negative too. Right? Like I say, I've been Crusty Canuck on this 13th of April, 2021. Like I always say, look after your friends and loved ones, ladies and gentlemen, and do what we can to help each other out. And like I always say, humanity and merit wins the day. I'll see you next time, and see you Thursday or Sunday. Take care. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.